Hello guys, how y'all doing? I'm just going to probably stick this in our video this evening. What I'm going to get ready to do is I'm going to put a lacquer coat on this and then have it ready for the video in a little while. And after I get my shower and everything and eat dinner, it should be dry. So let me set you guys up somewhere here, and we will get rid of lacquer coat on this. Now I got, right this moment guys, I've got paint all over myself, so I've been helping my parents paint the house, so just look over me how I look right now. I've got to shave, get a shower. Yeah. I think I'm going to do the bottom first, because I got to put the stencils on tonight. A good clear coat on. I hope I have enough lacquer. I have enough just for the blue. I don't know what I wasted that on something here a while back. But we got a nice shiny coat on the wood and the white. So I'll let that dry and I'll flip it over there on the bottom, and we'll get the blue all clear coated. So let's give that a second to dry guys, and I'll be right back. Okay guys, we'll go ahead and we'll get the blue now. Let me get you set up here. I went there and got my shower while the white was drying. I might get you in here in a minute. Alright, let's get the clear coat on the blue. I hope I have enough lacquer. Oh yeah, that's good. Alrighty. Got it all wet looking. So we got all the clear coat on that. So we'll let that set and dry and harden. And we'll start the video here in a little while guys. I'll see you here shortly. Kind of go around a little bit here. I still need to make 3 oars, and I think it's all I need to build is 3 oars. We've got to put the decals on, and that's what we're going to be doing in this video coming up. See you here shortly. Hello everybody, welcome back to Redneck Ways. It's model building time. Hope everybody's doing fine today on this Tuesday. It is May the 7th, I believe. Don't hold me on that, 'cause I'm not for sure. I didn't look at the date today. Alright guys, hope everybody's been doing good. Today is the final part, so let me make sure the camera looks crooked, make sure I got everybody in, and straighten her up a little bit here. Alrighty, like I was saying, this is the final part to it guys. We'll be done. Now I only have one oar made, but I'm going to do that later on. We're going to go ahead and finish up the model this week. We do have one oar. I've got to make 3 more of these, but I'll get them at a later date. Got the clear coat on. It looks really nice and pretty. Looks clear, shiny. I got the oar locks in. Got all those put in. Goes in like that. The oars. So, what we have to do today is, to finish it up, we've got to put our decals on. We're going to put these on today, and we're going to put our hook on the nose of it and try to come up with some kind of rope. What I get those? I went to Hobby Lobby and I really couldn't find what I wanted for rope. It really didn't have anything, but I got some of this string, so we're going to try to do something with that. So probably may use that. It looks pretty good. That looks pretty good too. They all look good. That, I kind of like that. We may go with that right there. So first off, let's see. I'm going to show you what we're going to do. Like I said, we're going to put the decals on, and then we're going to try to get that eye hook up here in the nose. So while I'm doing that, so y'all don't have to be hearing my awful voice, we're going to play a show today, one of the oldies, one of my favorites when I was a kid, and that's the Lone Ranger. So we'll listen to one, maybe two. We'll, if I get this done on one episode, it'll be done, but if not, we'll play 2 of them. So sit back, just relax guys, and let's finish this model. So let me get us a show playing.
With the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty hi-yo silver, the Lone Ranger. Fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty hi-yo silver, the Lone Ranger.
play songs on every episode. Sorry about that, guys. Here, let's just listen to the 6-shooter.
In a moment, you'll hear James Stewart as the 6-shooter here on NBC. Later this evening, listen to the NBC Star Playhouse with one of your favorite stars. Here, Meet the Press, America's #1 news-making program. Listen to the new Sunday at Home, and be sure to keep tuned for the dramatic story of communism in America on Last Man Out. It's a wonderful lineup of great programs, all of them heard only on NBC. James Stewart as the 6-shooter. The man in the saddle is angular and long-legged. His skin is sun-dyed brown. The gun in his holster is gray steel and rainbow mother of pearl, its handle unmarked. People call them both the 6-shooter. The NBC Radio Network presents James Stewart as the 6-shooter, a transcribed series of radio dramas based on the life of Britt Fonsett, the Texas plainsman who wandered through the western territories, leaving behind a trail of still-remembered legends.
The twilight wind carried the sound of the train toward the two figures who waited, hidden in a clump of maple trees. The sandy-haired man knotted a blue bandana at the back of his neck and pulled it over his face. He mounted his horse and gestured to his companion. The other man fitted a soiled handkerchief across his mouth and climbed into the saddle. A touch of spurs sent the horses forward. The train was crawling up a steep grade now, and the riders guided their mounts alongside the slowly moving cars. And then they lifted their boots out of the stirrups and swung themselves up onto a small platform behind the tender. The flicker of lamplight glinted on their revolvers as they opened the door to a passenger coach and stepped inside. For several minutes, the riderless horses continued to pace the clattering wheels. And then the door opened again. The two men pitched off the platform and rolled down the slope of a barren ravine. And in response to the whistle, the horses trotted up to him.
All right, let's go.
Sheriff. There just wasn't any cause. Carl was deaf, and all the noise the train was making, he couldn't understand what they wanted.
Yeah, I know.
He couldn't understand a word. He tried to make out what they were saying, but he couldn't. And when he didn't hand it over...
We'll get him, Mrs. Davis. Don't you worry about that. The posse's meeting here. We'll start out tonight, and we won't be back until we get him.
That won't do Carl much good.
Well, at least we'll make sure they don't kill nobody else in cold blood.
If only I hadn't to give him that belt. If I just hadn't to give it to him.
Belt?
It was my anniversary present to Carl. We were married 25 years last week. That's why we was taking the train trip over to Cheyenne, and that's why I give him the belt. The buckle was sort of silver-like.
What did that have to do with...
It was the belt they wanted. But Carl didn't understand when they asked him. He'd already handed over his money and his watch, and then one of them noticed the belt, and he said, "That buckle's silver, ain't it? Give it to me." Carl couldn't make out what he was talking about. And the fella got real mad, and he jabbed a gun into Carl's side, and he pulled the trigger without even giving Carl a chance to...
Easy now, Miss Davis.
Even though Carl was dying, that outlaw took the belt off him anyway. And it wasn't a silver buckle, Sheriff. It just looked like silver, but it wasn't the real thing. It wasn't
I sure must have been sleeping sound, or I'd have heard 'em ride up. Of course, they're probably being as quiet as they could under the circumstances, but I usually wake up when I'm out in the range and somebody's prowling around my neighborhood. Well, Scar, he heard 'em. He let me know it. Why, what's the matter, boy? Was there something? It still wasn't dawn, but there was enough light so that I could see the barrel of a .45 and a firm-mouthed fellow standing over me, pointing the gun at my head. Howdy.
What's your name, mister, and what are you doing out here?
Well, I was sleeping.
Don't get funny. We want straight answers and we want them quick.
You two of you, huh?
At least two.
Oh?
We're waiting, mister.
My name's Ponsett.
Britt Ponsett.
That's right. And as for what I'm doing out here, well, this is a free range. A man's got a right to cross over it and stop off once in a while and take a snooze, if he takes a mind to it.
You trying to claim you're the six-shooter?
I'm not claiming anything. You asked my name, I told you.
How do we know you ain't lying? How do we know that's who you are?
I guess you don't, unless you're willing to take my word for it.
Let's see your gun, mister.
How's that?
I've heard folks tell about the gun Britt Ponsett carries.
Oh?
No, don't touch it. I can see it plain enough.
What do you think, kid?
I guess he's Ponsett, all right. Leastways, that six-shooter sure fits the description.
Oh?
Besides, it didn't seem very likely he'd be one of the fellas we're looking for.
Huh?
Well, there's two of them, and he's out here all alone.
Oh.
Of course, they could have split up, but fellas on the run ain't apt to do that.
Yes, right.
Well, we're sorry if we woke you.
Mm-hmm. I was getting up time anyway. Just who is it you boys are looking for?
Couple of outlaws held up the Cheyenne train last night about 4 miles east of Black Ledge.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, there was some shooting, too. One of the passengers.
We're out hunting the bandits. And my name's Kit Springer. This is my brother, Lex.
Oh, yeah.
Pleased to meet you.
You fellas all alone?
Oh, no, there's a posse. A little way back. Sheriff's leading them. But he thinks the robbers headed for Patch Canyon, so he's taking the posse there. We don't see it that way.
You don't, huh?
We figure them outlaws will try to get through Miller Pass. If they can make it, they'll be in the clear.
Well, that sounds reasonable.
You, ain't seen nobody tonight?
No, I can't say I have.
Reckon we figured wrong, then. You'd have to come by here on their way to the pass. This is the only trail, ain't it?
Yeah, that's right. But not seeing them doesn't guarantee they weren't around. The way I was sawing wood, they could have stumbled right over my bedroll without me knowing it.
Well, I guess even if our hunch was right, we couldn't find them now.
Why's that?
We don't know the route from here on. We ain't never been through the pass ourselves. Say, you ain't traveling in that direction by any chance?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I am. I'm riding over to the Jefferson Ranch on the south slope.
Well, that's great. Looks like we struck it lucky for once, Lex.
What do you mean, kid?
Well, maybe Ponsett wouldn't mind us riding along with him, seeing as how he knows the way. And if we did run into them bandits, it'd be 3 of us to take care of them.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I'd be mighty glad to have some company, but it seems to me like you're letting yourselves in for a pretty long trip, just on a hunch. It's over a day from here through the pass, and there's no certainty the fellows you're after have even taken this trail, you know.
Oh, I guess we can spare the time. There's a $1,500 reward being offered.
$1,500? Oh, wow.
The posse does catch him. The money will be split 40 ways to breakfast. We won't be losing out on much. But if we run into him ourselves, well, you see what I mean.
Sure.
That is, if you ain't got no objections.
No, like I said, I'd welcome a little company. I'll fix us some chow, and then...
We already had breakfast.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, how about a cup of coffee, anyway?
Well, that's mighty kind of you, but maybe we ought to get started. In case them outlaws did get past you during the night, we wouldn't want them to pile up too much of a lead on us. We could stop for food later.
You boys sure are anxious.
$1,500 is a lot of money.
Well, that's true enough. Okay, I guess I can hold off a couple hours.
Get the horses, like.
Yeah, sure.
Can I give you a hand with that bedroll?
No. I manage.
Yes, sir. It was real lucky us bumping into you.
How's that?
I mean, you knowing this trail and all. Otherwise, we'd have had to turn back.
You fellas may be off on a wild goose chase, you know.
No, I just don't think so. Somehow I've got the doggonedest feeling we're headed right.
Well, as soon as I get Scars saddled up, we'll start finding out. Easy, boy. Easy now. It wasn't much of a trail. Just a little rocky path that hugged the side of the mountain and wound around tighter and tighter like a string on a top. It was hard riding, too. Every now and then we'd come to a horseshoe turn, and the horses had to cut so sharp they pulled their back legs in under their bellies and left us sort of hanging out over the ledge, looking down at an awful lot of air. Easy now. Boy, I got a hand of the Springer brothers. You know. They didn't complain. I'd taken this route before, so I knew what to expect. It was all new to them. After 3 or 4 of these loops, though, they did start dabbing their foreheads with their handkerchiefs, but neither one of them said anything about turning back. And to tell you the truth, I was doing a little sweating myself. That's a pretty steep trail, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, these horses are getting tired. Maybe we ought to rest a spell next wide space we come to.
They can keep going for a while yet.
Well, maybe they can. I'm getting tired myself.
He's right, Kit. We can't risk a stumble not up here.
Okay.
Ah, here. It looks like we're coming to a good spot up here.
Yeah.
Whoa, Scar.
Oh, there, boys.
I'm afraid you boys are going to be disappointed.
Huh?
About that $1,500. There haven't been any fresh tracks along the trail. Leastwise, I haven't seen any.
I was so busy riding, I didn't have time to do much looking.
Well, if somebody was just ahead of us, you'd think we'd spot a sign of them here and there.
Maybe somehow we got ahead of them.
Well, in that case, there wouldn't be much point you fellas going on, would there?
Well, we've come this far. We might as well go the rest of the way.
All right, it's up to you.
Sure he is hot.
Yeah, I reckon I won't be wanting that coffee after all.
Tell you one thing, I'm getting rid of this jacket.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. I'd say, that belt there, that mighty fancy belt you're wearing there, Kit.
Huh?
I don't think I've ever seen a buckle like that before. Silver, isn't it?
Yeah, it's silver.
Yeah, it's real pretty. It's too bad you got it all spotted up like that.
Spotted?
Yeah, that looks like sort of blood you got on there.
Oh. Why, I cut my hand the other day. Must have been when it happened. I didn't realize I'd smeared up my belt, though. Doggone it. Probably have a heck of a time getting the leather clean again.
Yeah, blood stains are apt to be sort of permanent.
Yeah.
It's a shame. Nice new belt like that.
We'll return to James Stewart as the six-shooter in just a moment. Someday, science will find a cure for infantile paralysis, but it takes research. And this year, your March of Dimes is forcing a showdown with this terrible disease. It's testing a highly promising vaccine in the hope of proving this year that it can stop polio from crippling your child. Now, you can give these crucial tests, which are costing extra millions of dollars, an extra chance to succeed. Your help in paying the extra millions for polio prevention is urgently needed. Join the 1954 March of Dimes. Send your dimes and dollars to your local March of Dimes headquarters this week. Now, Act 2 of The Six-Shooter, starring James Stewart as Britt Ponsett.
as the horses were rested, we started off again. But the higher we got, the harder it was for the animals to keep moving. The air was thinner now. You noticed it every time you took in a gulp. And the trail seemed even fainter than before. Oh, a couple of times we missed it completely and just went off on a tangent. And then we had to swing around and try to pick up where we'd gone wrong.
I'll never catch up with them at this rate.
No, I wouldn't worry about it, Kit.
What do you mean?
I still haven't seen any fresh tracks. Looks to me like nobody's been through here since last rain.
If you'd keep your eyes on the trail instead of looking for horseshoe marks, we might not get lost so often.
Easy, kid.
I told you boys you were letting yourselves in for something.
Yeah, you told us. Well, come on. Let's see if we can make up some time.
I sure couldn't help notice that the longer we rode, the less friendly Kit Springer got. I sort of put it down to the fact that he must have been sort of worn out. We weren't taking any pleasure jaunt, that was for sure. I couldn't blame him for being a little down from the mouth. But there was one thing that sort of troubled me about this fella. Something he said kept pecking at the back of my brain.
Oh, I cut my hand the other day. That must have been when it happened. I didn't realize I'd smeared my belt.
I shifted around and glanced back over my shoulder. Kit had one hand on the saddle horn and the other was gripping the reins. And the cut must have been all healed up by now. At least, he didn't seem to have any trouble with it. And a cut deep enough to spot his belt that way, it must have taken several days to get well. Funny, he'd never noticed the blood on his belt before I mentioned it to him. Well, one thing was certain, Kit Springer sure couldn't be much of a dude. The sun finally went down and we made camp for the night. We managed to find a pretty good-sized level spot right above the trail. Lex had built a fire. I cooked up a mess of beans and some pan bread. Kit didn't seem to be very hungry, though.
Moon ought to be coming up pretty soon.
Oh, another hour or so.
Think it'll give off much light?
Oh, some, I guess.
Not enough to see by, huh?
To see what?
Well, you said we were almost through the pass, didn't you?
Oh, we've got a couple, 3 more miles.
Well, why do we have to stop here, then? The horses could feel their way.
Just simmer down, Kit. Just simmer down. It's plain enough we're not going to run into those fellows you're after. They're either out of the pass now, or what's more likely, they never took this trail in the first place. That posse's probably captured them hours ago. More coffee, Lex?
Go ahead. Here, thanks.
Kit?
No, I've had enough. There's a town on the other side of the pass, ain't there?
Yeah, English Creek. Just a little bird.
Well, spending the night there would be a whole lot better than sitting out here. We could get a bath and a shave, change of clothing.
You wouldn't want to risk your neck on the trail just for a bath, would you?
No, I guess not. But I ain't very comfortable wearing the same breeches and shirt day after day.
That's so. I didn't figure you for the particular type.
Well, you figured wrong, Mr. Fawcett. Kit's a real fancy Dan.
Oh, that's so.
Yeah, you ought to see him on Saturday night when he starts off for town. Looks like a real riverboat gambler. That's what he looks like.
Well, there's nothing the matter with a man just because he tries to keep himself presentable, is there?
No, nothing at all.
Well, reckon we might as well turn in.
All right, you fellas go ahead. I'll bank the fire. You know, it's funny you never used this trail before.
What's so funny about it?
Well, seeing as how you live in Black Ledge.
We never said we lived there.
No, I guess you didn't. Come to think of it, but, well, since you were part of Sheriff's posse, I sort of jumped at the conclusion.
We were just passing through on our way to Beaver Junction. We heard about the train robbery. Seemed like the sheriff needed all the help he could get, so we volunteered.
Not to mention the reward, of course.
Not to mention the reward.
Hey, by the way, who is the sheriff of Black Ledge now?
What difference does it make?
Well, I'm just curious, that's all.
Oh, I don't remember his name. Wasn't time for any formal introduction. Folks just call him Sheriff.
Oh, yeah, I see. Big fella, is he? With a mustache?
Look, Quonset, you were the one who was so all-fired determined on us stopping for some shut-eye. So how about settling down?
Sure.
Night.
Night. I rolled up in my blanket and I turned my face toward the fire. And, as far as I could tell, the Springer boys hadn't been lying to me. A man could join up with a posse and not find out the sheriff's name, and I guess a man could ride himself half to death on the off chance of earning him $1,500 reward if he had a mind to do it. Of course, it hadn't worked out. Kit's hunch on the train robbers were using this pass. It just hadn't worked out. But I'd played plenty of wild hunches myself. So, about then I dropped off to sleep. The last thing I remember is hearing my mind say, maybe you're wrong, Poinsett. Maybe those outlaws are using the pass after all. It just kept echoing through my head. Maybe you're wrong, Poinsett. Well, it must have been 6 or 7 hours later when at first I wasn't sure what it was that woke me up. One of the horses, maybe.
It has a little hole here.
Started to drift off again.
Lex. Lex.
It's a little dull.
What's the matter? It's almost done.
It's one of my favorite shirts, baby.
You gotta stop moving.
You all
What
have
about Poinsett? You awake?
a favorite
I
t-shirt.
don't think so. Brett.
Yeah, you guys.
Brett.
I don't know what it was that kept me from answering back, but I just laid there, hardly breathing, not moving, not even opening my eyes.
Is he still asleep? Yeah. We ain't gonna need him the rest of the way, Lex. That's what I figured. Trouble is, he knows our names, what we look like. Sooner or later, he'd put 2 and 2 together.
You didn't have to tell him who we was.
I knew it would make no difference one way or the other.
You're gonna shoot him, kid.
Nope. You are.
Cut it.
Me?
Yeah.
Get rid of it.
I'm already wanted for a couple of killings, Lex. But they're only after you for robbery. Even though you're my brother, if the going got too rough someday, you might want to ease out of the partnership.
You know better than that, kid.
I don't know it for sure. After you killed Poinsett. Well,
Okay, kid. Whatever you say.
I'll get the horses.
Hurry it up. I heard Kit move off across the clearing. For a minute, that's all I heard. Then Lex started moving, too. I lifted my eyelids just a hair, and I saw him through the lashes. He pulled his revolver out of the holster. My gun belt was lying right beside me, and I inched my left hand toward it real slow so he wouldn't notice. I felt my fingers slide across a couple of stones, but the gun was still a little space beyond. I hadn't touched it yet. Lex was standing right over me now. I wasn't going to have much more time. If I didn't get a grip on that gun the next second or two, I spun over as he fired. But the bullet had seared my shoulder. It dug into my chest. My right hand jerked up and I let fire. At first I thought I'd missed him. I saw his fingers start to squeeze off another shot, but he never finished pulling the trigger. His whole body was shaking like an aspen tree, and he just tilted forward. I slid out of the way as he fell. I hadn't had time to feel the pain before now, but it started tearing through me so bad I almost let out a yell.
One shot ought to have been enough to... Lex!
Just hold it there, Kit.
Rick, what?
Seems you were right about the train bandits using this trail to...
Really sweet.
The words wouldn't come out. And everything started blurring in front of my eyes, and I could barely keep from dropping my gun. It was getting light now. Kit could see how bad I was shot. He whipped his revolver up from his side. The sound kind of jerked me back to my senses, and I managed to pull the trigger. I knew my aim wouldn't be so good, but it was good enough to send Kit diving back of a rock for cover. And there was a tree stump not more than a couple feet away, and I managed to roll myself behind it.
I know you're hurt, Poinsett. You can't hold out much longer.
I sure wasn't in any way to argue with him. If I could just get off a couple of more shots, maybe maybe he'd think twice before it, but I didn't have enough strength to. What's that? Well, that couldn't be Kit fired. I pushed my chin up to the edge of the stump. Were there horses coming up the trail from the same direction we'd come? And for a minute I couldn't think who. And then I remembered. The posse. They'd been following us all the time. That's why Kit was so anxious to stay on the move. That's the sheriff, Springer. I wouldn't plan on going much further. I could see him. I knew he was calling his horse. There was only one way back trail. He had to ride past me in the open. I propped myself up against the side of his stump, and I shifted my gun to my left hand, and for a minute I thought the trigger was stuck, and then I...
He's coming too, Sheriff.
Yeah, good.
How you feeling, Brad?
What? Doc? Oh, Doc Easton, what the Sam hell are you doing out here?
Well, there's no law saying a doctor can't go along with a posse, is there?
No. Well, for my sake, it's a good thing you did. Well, what about Kit Springer? Did you catch up with him, Sheriff?
You saved us the trouble, Brett.
Why, I couldn't have done that. He must have got away. That last shot of mine, that was a mile wide.
Well, maybe you didn't exactly hit him, but you sure scared the daylights out of his horse.
What?
Yeah, we saw the whole thing from down below. Springer was just turning onto the trail when you fired. His horse reared and started slipping over the edge. Springer tried to jump clear, but he just couldn't seem to tear himself loose from that saddle.
Yeah, it was the weirdest thing, Brett. When we finally found him, his body was still fastened to that saddle.
Yeah?
Yeah, the belt he was wearing had got caught onto the horn somehow. That must have been what drug him along when his horse fell.
I never heard of a man's belt hooking onto a saddle horn before.
Neither did I, but that's what happened, all right.
Yeah. Well, how about it, Brett? You going to be able to ride on into English Creek after I finish bandaging you up?
Yeah, I'll do my best, Doc. I'll sure do my best.
You know, they could have just get us stuck a screw in there. No. Let me see if I can pull
The Six Shooter is a transcribed NBC Radio Network production in association with Review Productions. It is based on a character created by Frank Firth and is written by him. Mr. Stewart may soon be seen in the Universal International picture The Glenn Miller Story. Others in the cast were Eleanor Audley, Forrest Lewis, Bill Conrad, Joel Cranston, and Frank Gerstle. Special music for this program was by Basil Adlam. And the entire production is under the direction of Jack Johnstone. All characters and incidents were fictitious, and any resemblance to actual characters or incidents is purely coincidental. This is Hal Gibney speaking. Spend 30 minutes with Sunday at Home next on the NBC Radio Network.
In a moment, you'll hear James Stewart as the Six Shooter. Just one of the many fine programs brought to you Sundays on NBC. Later this evening, listen to the NBC Star Playhouse with one of your favorite stars. Hear Meet the Press, America's #1 newsmaking program. And be sure to keep tuned for the dramatic story of communism in America on Last Man Out. It's a wonderful lineup of great programs, all of them heard only on NBC. James Stewart as the Six Shooter. The man in the saddle is angular and long-legged. His skin is sun-dyed brown. The gun in his holster is gray steel and rainbow mother of pearl. Its handle unmarked. People call them both the six-shooter. The NBC Radio Network presents James Stewart as the Six-Shooter, a transcribed series of radio dramas based on the life of Britt Ponsett, the Texas plainsman who wandered through the Western Territories, leaving behind a trail of still-remembered legends.
The post office at Yellowcrest was in Jim Pincher's general store. Oh, it was just a piece of planking and some wooden cubby holes over the one side between the soda cracker barrel and a jug of apple cider. And when the store was crowded, you couldn't expect to get much mail service, but you couldn't blame Jim for that. It's just like he said, he made his profit on selling groceries and staples, and the post office was just sort of a convenience for the folks in town. Well, anyway, I'd been out on the range about 3-4 months, so I thought maybe a letter might be turning up. Not that I was expecting to hear it from anybody in particular, but, oh, well, it was about my time to get some mail. I usually receive about 3 letters a year. Oh, 4 or maybe some years. That's not counting the catalogs either. That's just a letter.
Nope, I'm sorry, Britt. I just ain't got a thing for you.
Well, I thought I might as well make sure while I was in town.
Sure. I'm real glad you dropped by. How are things with the Foster outfit?
First rate, Jim. First rate.
Well, maybe by the time the roundup's over, I'll have some mail for you. Deliveries are usually a little heavier then. Why, one day last September, I got in 6 letters.
No.
It's the truth, so help me. 6 letters. And it was all for the people right here in Yellowcrest. Oh, treat yourself to some of them Concord grapes there, Britt. They're real sweet and juicy.
Oh, thanks, Jim. Much obliged. Oh, right. Oh, I'm sure.
Like I said, I'm going to do that.
Right, these are good.
We're just going to get
That's the best I've seen in a long time. Oh, well, ladies, you're getting preserves. That's why my wife's always... Well, she's already on about it.
I may take 2 weeks off on my...
The woman who'd just come in was tall, kind of gray-haired, deep frown wrinkles in her forehead, and big blue saucer eyes. They had black circles all around her. She didn't look my way. As a matter of fact, she didn't seem to be looking anywhere. She just stared straight ahead and resting the palms of her hands against the mail counter.
I'd like my mail, please.
No mail.
You sure?
No mail, I said.
Well, there must be something by now. Maybe you didn't look and...
Say, Britt, did I show you the new supply of holsters I got in? Come on over here where you can get a good look at them. Not that they're fancy enough for that revolver of yours, but they're sure pretty. Good quality, too.
What's going on here, Jim? Well, that lady was in here. You treated her like she had the plague or something.
You mean you didn't recognize her, Britt?
No. There's a dead.
Helen Bricker. Brad Bricker's girl.
I used
Helen Bricker?
Clear.
Guess we ought to be calling her Mrs. Billy Stark, all right?
It is strong, guys.
Well, excuse me, Jim. I want to see if I can catch up with her. Thanks for the grape.
Now, wait a minute, Britt. The folks in Yellowcrest don't like the idea.
Grandson play with it, and they get broke.
Hey, Helen! Hey, Helen! Helen, hold up a second here. Hey, what's the matter with you, Helen? You getting stuck up or something?
Stuck up?
Well, you remember me, don't you?
Sure. I remember you, Britt.
Well, but back there in the store, you didn't so much as give me a nod.
I didn't hear you falling all over yourself with good mornings either.
Uh-huh. Well, to tell you the truth, Helen, I just didn't recognize you. Not right off the bat. Not that you've changed very much or anything, but, well, it's been quite a spell.
Your mouth is the wrong shape for lying, Britt. You couldn't fool a horsefly.
Well, I don't know what you mean, Helen.
So I haven't changed, have I? Gray hairs, wrinkles so deep you can feel the bones behind them.
Yeah, well, maybe your hair's sort of lightened up here and there, but that doesn't...
Britt, I'm an old woman. I was 27 last April. But I'm an old woman.
Oh, now, Helen.
Well, here's my buckboard. Goodbye, Britt. Thanks for speaking to me.
Thanks for speaking to... What the Sam Hill do you mean, Helen?
Hadn't you heard? The good citizens of Yellowcrest don't waste their words on Billy Stark's wife. They're not going to like the idea of you walking down the street with me, neither.
Oh, now you're doing a little exaggerating, Helen.
Am I?
Well, where are you living now?
Cabin out the end of town by South Creek. The one my father built when I was a girl, remember?
Oh, sure. By the way, how is Strad?
I don't know. I hadn't seen him since I come to Yellow Crest last month.
Oh?
He sent word I could have the cabin. Nobody's living there anyhow. But I wasn't to come near our house or try to get in touch with him. Not for as long as I live. Get upstairs, Gene.
Well, seeing it's almost noon, I thought I might as well wander over to the hotel and have some dinner. I was just passing Sheriff Ritter's office when I got the doggone pain in the right foot. Wow. Gee, wait for a minute. I thought I'd broken something. Every time I put my weight down on it, it was just like somebody was driving a spike up in it. Oh, for Pete's sake, why didn't I think of that before? It was a spike. Yeah, that's what was poking up through my heel. It was a spike.
What's the matter, Brett?
Huh? Oh, Bud. I reckon my boot needs a little repairing.
Better take it over to Seth Jenkins. He'll take care of it.
Yeah, I guess I had. Hey, where'd that star on your chest come from? What, you taking over for Sheriff Ritter or something?
Temporary, Brett? Yes, sir. He's gone over to Salt Center for a few days, visiting some relatives from back east. Left me as deputy while he's gone.
I say. Oh, nice bumping into you.
Yeah. Brett.
Yeah?
Wasn't you just talking to Helen Bricker over by the general store?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Brett, we'd appreciate it if you didn't act too friendly towards her.
Oh?
She shouldn't have come back here in the first place. She must have knowed how the town feel about it.
Mm-hmm. Because of her being married to...
Sure, Brett. You don't blame us, do you?
Well...
I know she was young when she run off with him, and he hadn't turned into an out-and-out killer yet, but she didn't have to stick with him, did she? Why, even after he robbed a bank right here in her own hometown and killed Dave Fletcher, she still didn't make a move towards leaving him. Leastways, they was together when the marshal captured him a couple of months later.
Well, I did hear about Star being arrested, but I didn't get too many of the details.
Well, it was over at Junction City. They'd been living there on and off, using another name, of course, and pretending to be real respectable.
That's all.
Yeah, but somebody tipped off Marshal Shaw, one of Billy's own boys, probably. And the marshal took him without firing a shot. He's up at Fort Bryan now, and if you ask me, she ought to be there, too, waiting to be hung right along with him.
Well, when's the hanging supposed to take place?
This week sometime. The day ain't certain. Leastways, we ain't had word from Fort Bryan yet.
I see.
Doggone it, Britt. Dave Fletcher was a fine man. Why, if it hadn't been for him and his bank, like as not, there wouldn't even be a town here.
Yeah, that's true enough.
Every time I see Helen riding around with her head up in the air, it just galls me. Why, even her own father won't have nothing to do with her. A guy like that married to a fellow who's murdered 10, 12 men, maybe. Nobody knows how many for sure. And yet she'd come back here as big as life, as if she owned the place, not asking anybody's buy or leave.
Well, Yellow Crest's her hometown, you know. I guess she's got a right to stay here if she wants to. There's not much anybody can do about that.
Maybe there ain't.
I didn't think about that.
Maybe there is.
I'll have to figure something out.
Hey, what? Look at that. Who in the thunder stirring up all that dust? He sure must be in a hurry. Look at him.
Yeah, look. Looks like Tim Slater. Well, if it is, he's just back from Fort Bryan. Yeah, it's Tim, all right. Tim, what's the news?
They're stringing him up tonight, Buck. It's official.
Well, what time?
11 o'clock. It was already testing the gallows when I left.
Well, there you are.
Yeah. Well, I guess I better see to having this boot fixed. So long, Buck.
Guys, because I want y'all to finish this story. Let's try to make
Who put this heel on just did not know his trade. No reason why a nail should come through the inside if the heel's been put on proper. Who made these boots for you anyway, Britt?
Well, let's see now. Come to think of it, I believe you did. Well, didn't you?
You know darn well I didn't. You think I can't recognize my own work?
Well, I don't know.
Why, I never turned out a pair of boots like this even when I was apprenticed. Now tell me the truth, where'd you get them?
The general store over at White Corners.
I thought so. Yes, sir, I thought so. Ready-made, that's what they are. Why, I could tell the second I seen him. No wonder you got a nail in your foot. The idea, Britt Ponsett wearing ready-made boots.
Well, you know, sometimes it's very hard to find a good bootmaker.
Well, I'm here, ain't I? Been here over 15 years.
All right, Seth. The next pair I get, you can make them for me. How's that?
Think people would learn better than to put their trust in machines. Here. See how this feels now.
Thanks. No, that looks like I got a hole in my sock.
Well, sir, if that don't come as any surprise to me. Never run into a cowpoke yet who didn't have holes in his stocking. Go on, stand on it.
Oh, all right.
Jump up and down.
What do you mean?
Now, go ahead, jump up and down. Don't feel a thing, do you?
No, not a thing.
Took a human being to get that heel on right, not no machine.
You're right, Seth. You're right. All right. No, that's fine. What do I owe you?
I ought to charge you double for having to work on ready-made, but since you give me your word you'll order your next pair from me, why, I'll stick my regular price at 10 cents.
Oh, it's more than worth it. Here you are.
Thank you. Yeah, it's gonna be quite a doings tonight, I reckon.
How's that?
Tim Slater come by with the news just before you dropped in.
You mean about Billy Stark?
Yeah. We're meeting at Buck Thompson's house, but I don't suppose you'll want to get mixed up in it, Britt.
Mixed up in what, Seth?
Why, running that wife of Billy's out of town. You knew about it, didn't you? Tim said he seen you talking to Buck.
Yeah, I was talking to him, all right.
Well, didn't he tell you how we're going to show Helen Bricker, Helen Stark, that she ain't exactly welcome to stay in Yellowcrest?
No, I guess he didn't think I'd be interested.
We've been waiting until we were sure about that hanging. Figured we'd get rid of one Stark while the state's getting rid of the other one.
Helen isn't going to be very easy to convince.
Burning that cabin where she's staying ought to do the trick.
What?
I reckon she won't have much choice after that. And seeing as how her own father won't let her live with him, I imagine she might have a little trouble finding somebody else to take her in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Well, thanks for fixing my boots, Seth. Feels just like new.
We'll return to James Stewart as the six-shooter in just a moment. There's an old expression that goes, don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today. And that's a very good expression to keep in mind now that income tax time is coming along. This year, there are going to be approximately 58 million Americans who will be required to file federal income tax returns with the Bureau of Internal Revenue. First of all, there may be some doubt in your mind as to whether you file an income tax return or not. Well, here are the people who should file with the income tax bureaus. Everyone, regardless of age, who had an income of $600 or more during the past year is required by law to file an income tax return before March the 15th. Here are a couple of points that may help you. Be sure your return is complete and accurate, and be sure you sign it. If it's a joint return, be sure the taxpayer and his wife both sign their names. And most important of all, be sure to file your income tax return early. If you're entitled to a refund, you'll receive it a lot sooner if you file early. Remember, don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today, especially you taxpayers. Now, Act 2 of The Six-Shooter, starring James Stewart as Britt Ponsett.
It was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon when I got out to Strad Bricker's house. There's a big, comfortable two-story place on 2nd Street. Green shutters. Front porch painted kind of gray shade. The 2 white cast iron deer standing out in the front lawn, with one a little smaller than the other.
Yes? Oh, hello, Britt.
Oh, Strad? Mind if I come in?
No, of course not.
Strad was a big man. A couple inches over 6 feet. Must have weighed, 230, I suppose. None of it was fat, either. His hair was white as snow. And a thick brush mustache fell down over his upper lip. He didn't look old, though, not for his years. Not unless you happened to get a glimpse of his eyes. And they were sort of dull and faded. They didn't jump all around the room the way they did the last time I saw them.
I heard you were in Yellow Crest, Britt. Jim Pincher was telling me down at the store.
Yeah, I stopped by to see if there's any mail.
Sit down.
Thanks. Oh, you're looking well, Strad. Real well.
I stay about the same. What can I do for you, Britt?
I ran into Helen this morning. She sure has changed a lot, hasn't she, Strad?
Not so?
You haven't seen her yourself?
No.
Uh-huh. Well, it seems kind of funny. You both live in the same town.
Britt, if you come to try and fix things up between us, you're wasting your time.
Oh, no. No. It's none of my business. I know that.
I told her he was no good before she married him, I told her. But she knew more than anybody else. She wouldn't listen to me.
Well, I guess sometimes it's pretty hard to see a person's faults when you're in love with them.
That ain't my concern.
Oh, it must be pretty hard on Helen. Everybody blaming her for what her husband did, not even willing to give her the time of day when they meet her on the street.
If she don't like it, she's free to leave.
No, she wasn't complaining, Strad. I don't think I ever heard a Bricker complain my whole life.
She ain't a Bricker. She's Billy Stark's wife.
Well, anyway, about her leaving town, it may be that she won't have much choice about the matter. Billy Stark's being hung at 11 o'clock tonight, and some of the boys are planning to burn Helen out at the same time.
They already told me about it, Britt.
They told you? What, you're not going to try and stop them?
That cabin on South Creek ain't worth worrying about.
Well, Helen isn't worth worrying about either, huh? Is that it?
There probably won't be any violence. If there is, it's the sheriff's job to prevent it.
Oh, now, Sheriff Ritter's out of town, you know that. If he was here, he wouldn't let those fellows get near that cabin.
He's left a deputy.
Buck Thompson's one of the gang that's fixing to do the burning.
She don't belong to Yellow Crest. This ain't her home. Not anymore. Better go someplace else. If she needs money, all she has to do is send word to me.
Why, she'd never take money from you, Strad.
Then let her say she was wrong. Let her come to me and say she's sorry she ever laid eyes on Billy Stark. Let her ask me to forgive her. Maybe then I'll care what happens to her. Maybe then I'll care.
You're wasting your time, Britt. No matter what anybody says, no matter what they try to do, I'm not leaving Yellow Crest.
Well, with Sheriff Ritter away, there's no lawman here to protect you, Helen.
I can protect myself. It's after 10, Britt. You better get out before they come.
Well, all right.
Britt.
Huh?
Don't worry about me. I'll be all right. I got a Winchester rifle, and I know how to use it.
Now, look, Helen.
I'll kill the first person who comes near this cabin. I mean it, Britt.
Oh, you couldn't kill anybody.
Couldn't I? I'm Billy Stark's wife, remember?
I remember. Sure, I remember. And there's a chance Yellow Crest might forget it someday, but if there's any gunplay here tonight, they never will.
I don't expect him to forget. I married Billy. Nobody forced me to. And I don't expect no favors now.
Mm-hmm. Well, all right, good night. Yeah, it looks like they're bringing torches.
I told you to leave before they got here.
Now, you just let that rifle stay where it is, Helen. You can get out the back way, and I'll stall them off.
I never thought I'd hear Britt Ponset advise nobody to run from a fight.
You never saw me walk right into one, did you?
Mr. Stark, we'll give you just 2 minutes to get out of that cabin. I'm giving you less than that to get off my property.
This here property belongs to Strad Bricker. Ain't yours. You're no Bricker anymore.
I'll show you who I am.
Let go, Britt. Britt.
Now, you're so set and staying inside here. Now, you stay.
You got 1 more minute.
I don't want you taking my part, Britt.
Those crazy fools out there I'm worried about, not you.
Now, here's your last chance. Okay, boys, bring up them torches. That cabin ought to be drying up to make a real warm fire.
You're right about that, Buck.
What are you doing out here, Brett?
Now, you better be careful about how you hold that torch, Jim.
What's the matter? You afraid he'll set something on fire?
Come on, Brett. Now, you just get out of the way. This ain't none of your concern.
I got a horse stabled in this town. and he concerns me.
A horse? What are you talking about?
You got a loco, Britt?
You start a fire here tonight, and like as not, you'll burn down the whole town.
He's loco, all right. The wind's from the wrong direction. Now, wait a minute now. Maybe concentrate.
Oh, shut up, you.
Now, listen, this wind can change any time. Sometimes it changes real fast with a quick blow-up like this.
Yeah. And it might start raining, too. Then the fire'd go out. Yeah. Come on, boys. Come on, don't let him blow.
Now, hold on. I said I was concerned about my horse, Buck. I wouldn't want anything to happen to my horse because of you.
You threatening me? Now, hold on a minute, Buck. We don't want no serious trouble out here.
Now, just take it easy, both of you.
Look here, I'm the deputy sheriff, Britt. You pull a gun on me and I'll throw you in jail.
It's not against the law to carry a rifle, is it?
I'd feel better if you put it down. Drop it. We're not here, boys.
Britt?
I mean business.
Hey, wait.
Not here, fellas.
Wait now. You feel that wind now?
Yeah, it's changing. It's swinging around.
It'll be coming from the south.
It will not. You're imagining things. Imagination, nothing. Get them torches buried, boys, while they're still. Now, wait a minute. You listen to me.
No, my house is just down the hill from here. I'm not going to have it burned out.
Well, Buck, you still want me to drop the rifle?
You just remember one thing, Britt. There'll be other nights when there ain't no wind.
I reckon there will, Buck. I reckon there will. Well, you'll have to get this window fixed, Helen. New painted glass and some putty. That's about all you'll need.
It don't matter, Britt. Fixing it's probably a waste of time anyhow.
Oh?
I heard what Buck said. Like there'd be in other nights. He was right.
Oh, I don't know. You can get folks all worked up about something once, maybe, but they usually come around to their senses before they go off half-cocked again. Besides, when Sheriff Ritter gets back to town, he'll keep things under control. The hands of the clock had touched 11. 11 o'clock meant that Billy Stark, well, that's the time they'd set. I didn't know what Helen would do, how she'd take it. But I sure didn't expect her to get a kind of a relaxed expression on her face. Why, she looked almost like she was relieved to know that it was over.
"10 years I was married to Billy. 10 years is a long time, Britt.
Yeah. Well, why'd you stick it out, Helen? You couldn't have gone on loving him after you found out what he was, after he turned outlaw.
Love him? Every minute of the day, every day of the year, I hated Billy Stark.
Well, if you felt that way...
I made a bargain. Of my own free will. Oh, he was wild when I married him, but I thought he'd settle down. Lots of young fellas is wild, Britt.
Yeah?
Dad told me I'd regret it. Said I'd be sorry all the rest of my life. Said it so often. Well, maybe that's one of the reasons I just went ahead. Just to spite him. And afterwards, when Billy became a killer, I just couldn't come crawling back and admit that Dad had been right. I don't know why. I just couldn't.
Uh-huh.
Besides, I knew that someday they'd get Billy. Another outlaw'd come along. Or Marshall. Or I'd pick the wrong gunfight. It was bound to happen. Someday they'd get him even if I had...
If you had to what?
Nothing, Britt, nothing.
Well, I'll be doggone. So you're the one that tipped them off, huh? It wasn't one of Billy's gang, it was you.
I don't know what you mean.
Well, now, you said I wasn't much good at lying, Helen. Well, you're just no good at all at it.
You're wrong, Britt. You're dead wrong.
I am, huh?
All right. I'll admit it to you. I was the one. But you gotta promise me you won't tell nobody.
Oh, you're afraid of Billy's friends, ain't it?
Friends? Billy didn't have any.
Yeah, well, then why don't you want folks to find out what you did? They'd change their whole attitude toward you. Your father, think of him. Well, you'd feel entirely different.
It's my life, Brad. It don't concern nobody else. Not even Dad. That's the way I was brought up. That's the way Stradbricker brought me up. And I'm his daughter. I'm Helen Bricker.
Yeah? Yeah, I guess you are. Well, I haven't been back to Yellow Crest, not for, 5-6 months. So I don't know whether Helen is still living out in that cabin, still holding to herself, or whether the folks have kind of softened to her by now. Of course, it's possible that somebody told them about her and Billy, about what she did to have him captured and so on, but I haven't mentioned it, but, it's pretty hard to keep a secret like that. Anyway, like I said, I don't know what's happened to Helen Bricker. Not for sure.
The Six Shooter is a transcribed NBC Radio Network production in association with Review Productions. It is based on a character created by...
All right, guys. That was a great episode. All right, guys. Here she is. She is done. We have one more thing to do. And that is the lock. Or lock buoy. And it just sits back here in the back. Just like that. There she is, guys. Bring her up close. Still got to work on that one. It's drawn. So she's done. All done. So there's one in the books. So thank you guys for watching. Thank y'all for hanging out with me doing this model. I believe this was episode number 13. So it took us about 13 weeks to do this. I did it every Tuesday. So a lot of fun. Like I said, I'm probably going to take a couple weeks off before I start the pirate ship. Here, I'll grab it. Next one I want to be building on our channel is the Captain Kidd. It's a pretty cool model. Side picture. So that's what we'll be building next, guys. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm just going to take a couple weeks off. I've got to get my air compressor. I need a valve on it. I've got to get a couple things together for that model build. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for everything. Thank you all for my all my subscribers. And you all have a great week coming up the rest of the week. Bye, guys. See you next time right here on Redneck Ways.